The region of the northeastern Balkans is lush with emerald forests, tattooed with sapphire rivers, and blessed with underground veins of precious metals. The region also borders the Black Sea, that bustling lake of Eurasian trade. Given its ecology and location, it should come as no surprise that this region has been home to many rich civilizations, often neglected in the pages of world history. One of these civilizations, known primarily for their adversarial relationship with the Roman Empire, are the ancient people known as the Dacians. Inhabiting the region that today consists of parts of Romania, Moldova, Hungary, and Ukraine, the Dacians have had many incarnations. From tribal settlements to mighty kingdoms to a Roman province, Dacia and its people have a history that deserves to be told. Who are the Dacians, and what is their story? What tribes composed them? What were their customs, and what gods did they worship? Welcome to our video on the history of the Dacians, their culture, and their rise to a mighty kingdom that opposed Rome. This week, our YouTube members and patrons will be watching the next installment in our series on the Second Punic War, as we cover the Battle of Trebia, the first direct engagement of the war between the Romans and the Carthaginians. The support of our YouTube members and patrons allows us to continue releasing these free videos without worrying about the unstable YouTube ad revenue, and lets us be more choosy in terms of our sponsors. You can join their ranks via the links in the description and get access to 2 weekly exclusive videos and more than 150 right now, including the series on the Pacific War, Fall of Sparta, First Punic War, Italian Reunification Wars, Albigensian Crusade, History of Prussia, Biography of Sulla, Reconquista, World War II North African Campaign, Persian Wars, and much more. Thanks for your kind support. The region of Dacia usually describes the geographic location of modern-day Romania, as well as parts of Moldova, Hungary, Bulgaria, and Serbia. The region includes mountainous areas like Transylvania, as well as the region of Histria on the coast. This means that the peoples who lived within this economically and geographically diverse area were culturally diverse and often divided into varied tribal groups. This makes it difficult to talk about the Dacians as a monolithic people group. Dacian was an exonym used by the Romans, and thus may have included a variety of ethnic groups. The Greeks also used the name Getae to describe the peoples north of the Black Sea, which further complicates the picture of continuity in the region. To add another layer of complexity to this ethnic enigma, there is also an unresolved scholarly debate on whether the Dacians were related to the neighbouring Thracians. Their idea of their supposed relation comes from descriptions by the ancient Greek historian Herodotus, who claimed they were kindred peoples, but also noted that they were rather different. The language they spoke, known as Dacian, seems to belong to a now extinct branch of the Indo-European language family. Being a geographically and culturally diverse spectrum of peoples, the Dacians may have spoken many dialects, or even many separate languages. However, due to a scarcity of historical evidence, we cannot know this for sure. The origins of the Dacian people are shrouded in mystery. The Dacians, like their Thracian neighbours, could have already been present in their homeland as early as the Bronze Age, though our only source of information is archaeological studies. Their trajectory into the region is also complicated to pinpoint. They may have come from southern Ukraine and Russia, or alternatively from Anatolia. By the dawn of the Iron Age, around the 8th to 7th centuries BCE, the people who would become the Dacians lived across the region in small settlements. Around the same time, the first Greek colonies of the Archaic period appeared on the coasts of modern-day Romania, Bulgaria, and Ukraine, engaging with the native populations both culturally and economically. These early interactions between Greeks and Proto-Dacians are apparent in some of the art in the region, where Hellenic influences appear in indigenous Dacian drinking vessels. It appears as if Dacian tribal elites along the coast adopted elements of Hellenic culture during this time, while the Dacians further in the hinterlands were less affected by Greek influence. Other cultures that may have influenced the Proto-Dacians were the nearby nomadic Iranic Sarmatians, a cousin people of the Scythians. Early Dacian settlements were usually placed near rivers and on hills. These hill settlements were sometimes dominated by forts, which may have served as the seat of a local warrior elite. During this time, the Dacians were likely politically organized into collections of tribal confederacies of various sizes and unclear political structures. Throughout the era of classical antiquity, the Greeks continued to trade with the locals in the hinterland, while the Persian Empire under Darius I passed through the region when they attempted to conduct a campaign in Scythia. According to Herodotus, the Persian king of kings subdued the Getae to his rule. The presence of the Persians was, however, short-lived, and the Iron Age ancestors of the Dacians were present in the region with relative freedom from imperial encroachment during the Iron Age. Occasionally, some Scythian tribes made incursions into the region from the northeast, and brought their cultural influences with them, as we will see later. The next major mention of the Dacians in the historical record, then under the name of the Getae, occurred when Alexander the Great appeared in the region and attacked them in 335 BCE, succeeding in subduing them briefly. However, much like the Persians, Macedonian dominance in the region would prove very short-lived. The Getae are mentioned once more in discussions of the Wars of the Diadochi, the conflicts fought between Alexander's generals after his death. Lysimachos, the Diadochos who captured Thrace to the south, was in constant conflict with northern tribes like the Getae, and was even captured by them at one point. He was released after a ransom was paid, but the fact he was captured at all speaks to the military prowess of the Dacian people. The fact that the Dacians were able to achieve such decisive military success against the military titans of the Hellenic world suggested that by that point in time they had somewhat politically centralized, likely around military chieftains, as evidenced by local military tombs. However, the Greeks were not the only enemies the Dacians would have to contend with during this era, for warlike Celtic tribes were descending down from northern Europe and into the Balkans. The various Dacian tribes and the migrating Celts must have fought various battles, but we know very little of them. Intriguingly, archaeologists studying the region have seen a clear shift towards more Celtic artifacts in the archaeological record throughout the 4th to 2nd centuries BCE. The military elites who captured Lysimachos must have become even stronger with the glorious resources they gained fighting off the Celts. However, the presence of artifacts in the archaeological record, which blend the material culture of both Celts and Dacians, indicates that the relationship between these two peoples was not just one of constant war. The Celts who stayed in Dacia probably assimilated into the local culture, or kept moving south, while new Celtic tribes continued to move into the region from the north. The incursions of the Celts continued until the 1st century BCE, when the ever-increasing pressure of Celtic migration led to the formation of a military kingdom from whom the Dacian peoples got their name. It is unclear how this kingdom came to be. From what we can surmise from the historical sources, it was founded by a warlord named Burebista, who sometime around 84 BCE managed to gain enough support from religious and military elites to unite a large number of indigenous tribes under his rule. Using the combined resources of all the tribes, he initiated an invasion against one of the largest Celtic tribes in the Danube region, the Boii, and expelled them from the territory. Now having secured regions as far north as modern-day Hungary and Slovakia, Burebista captured the Greek colonies in modern-day Romania and Ukraine. He then moved south into Serbia, close to Roman territory. He even allied with Pompey in the Roman civil wars, after the latter recognized his land conquests in the Black Sea. This led Pompey's arch-rival, a certain Julius Caesar, to plan an invasion of Dacia, which he failed to initiate due to receiving 27 stab wounds on the floor of the Roman Senate. Burebista was probably assassinated in 44 BCE, and in the wake of his death, his kingdom splintered into multiple regional states, ruled by various independent kings. Some of these regional Dacian kings had diplomatic relations with Rome. One of them, a ruler named Cottesso, was due to marry Augustus Caesar's daughter Julia, but he betrayed Augustus and instead allied with his rival Mark Antony. The rest of the 1st century BCE is very murky about Dacian history. What we do know is that some Dacian kings conducted raids into Roman territories during times when the empire was unstable, such as the Year of the Four Emperors, which no doubt further soured the Romans' attitude towards their northern Dacian neighbours. In 86 CE, a major war between the Romans and the Dacians was initiated by Emperor Domitian after the Dacian invasion of Moesia. The two forces clashed at the Battle of Tapae, in which the Dacians crushed their Latin adversaries, wiping out 2 entire legions. However, a second battle fought at this same location went the other way, resulting in a Roman victory. The war lasted for 2 years, until Domitian, faced with political troubles back in Rome, was forced to sue for peace. The war ended with the Dacians retaining their independence, but at the cost of their southern provinces, and them becoming a client kingdom of Rome. However, the northern border of the Danube was always seen as important for the Romans, and soon a new emperor, Trajan, decided to fully subdue the gold-rich region. In 101 CE, the Roman Empire under Trajan began their march into Dacia. During this time, the most powerful Dacian king was a man named Decebalus, who had been preparing for an inevitable Roman invasion by fortifying his capital of Samosatagusa. However, these preparations were ultimately for naught, for he was defeated in the Third Battle of Tapae, which forced him to sue for peace in 102 CE. 2 years later, a second Roman invasion occurred, which ended with a spectacular Roman victory outside Samosatagusa. This led to the annexation of most of Dacia into the empire. To commemorate his victory, Trajan erected his infamous column, which to this day remains as one of the most famous landmarks in Rome. The coming of Rome ushered in a new era in Dacia. In a move typical of Roman imperialism, the Romans were rather brutal in their suppression of native rebellions. Native Dacian cities like Samosatagusa appear to have suffered population losses until their eventual refounding as Roman cities. Native Dacian elites, primarily military and landowning aristocrats and priests, were culturally Romanized and integrated into Roman administrative structures. However, life for Dacian commoners in their hinterland villages probably did not change much. Gold mined from the bountiful ore deposits of Dacia became a crucial component in the production of Roman currency after 101 CE, with the region's rich gold deposits being a significant reason why Rome was interested in conquering it in the first place. As Rome had not conquered all of Dacia, a section to the north became known as the Free Dacian Territory, where chieftains and petty kings continued to rule, such as in the region of the Carpii in modern-day Moldavia. These free Dacian warlords occasionally conducted raids inside Roman territory, often with help from the nomadic Sarmatians. The continuous raids of nomads boiled over into the Marcomannic Wars in 166 to 180 CE, when Sarmatian and Germanic tribes fought with Rome under Marcus Aurelius, who wished to expand into Sarmatia alongside the shores of the Danube, with a resulting status quo ante bellum. Following this, the Romans increased their investment into Dacia. With the province of Dacia Romana, the Romans began their typical work of Romanization. As the region was on the frontier, it was heavily garrisoned by many legions. Eventually, the bases set up by these legions slowly became cities. Eventually, the previous settlement hierarchy of the Dacians, which had tower settlements as an intermediary between large cities and villages, was replaced by these military towns. This military-industrial complex proved to be a consistent source of customers for the local craftspeople, who entrenched themselves in the region. Fortresses, like the one in Kostesci Bladaru, often included large towers situated near them, and also had temples near them. In general, Romanization in Dacia was extensive, and succeeded in mixing the local and Roman cultures into a new hybrid whole. This continued until the 3rd century CE, when the province faced further Germanic invasions and was slowly abandoned by the Romans. Now let us discuss Dacian culture and religion, beginning with their skills in artisanry. The Dacians led the confluence of Celtic, Scythian, Roman, and Greek cultural influences, and were notorious for their talent in craftsmanship. Of particular note was their goldsmithing, which was known for its incredible elegance in accessories like bracelets. Made of very high grade and pure gold, Dacian accessories were known to boast evocative designs featuring dragons, wolves, and other naturalistic themes. This is in stark contrast to Roman and Greek sources, who in typical fashion saw the Dacians as uneducated bonobos. In fact, the Dacians also had quite a craft in bronze smithing, and also were good at the construction of ceramics. The Dacians were also influenced by Sarmatian culture, as we can find the Sarmatian horse motif and Sarmatian mirrors appearing a lot in their art. In addition to this, there are also Roman influences in the bronze artifacts found in Dacia upon their conquest by the Romans, showing the penetration of Roman culture into the region. The architecture of the Dacians was also quite elaborate, particularly their tower houses. Dacian warfare is a large and complex topic, but of note are the falchies, their curved swords. Shaped a bit like scimitars, the falchies were used by Dacian infantry rather effectively, and were particularly effective on the battlefield against the Romans. Dacian religion is an intriguing topic in and of itself. Herodotus claimed that the Getae, another name used for the local peoples, believed themselves to be immortal, as well as being the noblest and most just of all the Thracian tribes. This immortality was interpreted as a sort of migration to another country by the human soul, but this is very cryptic. One of the strongest arguments for some sort of ethnic ties between the Thracian and Dacian peoples is their similar pantheons. Zelmoxis, a god we have discussed in our video on the Thracians, appears to have been important to the Dacians as well, and was worshipped in sanctuaries. Other common deities revered by the Dacians included Sibylsudos, a rain deity, and Bendis, a mysterious female deity. These divinities appear to have been worshipped in sanctuary complexes, with a caste of high priests seeming to have been the primary conduit of communication between the general population and the gods. As previously mentioned, the Dacians may have taken their name from a wolf-like deity, but it is difficult to confirm. With the coming of Rome, Dacian religion became highly Romanized, with Roman gods such as Bacchus, Jupiter, and the Dioscuri becoming prominent. However, Greco-Roman gods likely had a presence in Dacia long before the Roman conquest, as the Dacians had been interacting with Greek colonies on the Black Sea coast since the Archaic period. Let us now step back into the flow of time and cover the final centuries of Roman rule over Dacia, which was a tumultuous era. This was a time of great migrations that put enormous pressure on the frontiers of the Roman Empire, including upon Dacia, the northern parts of which were subject to ever-increasing pressure of migration from Germanic tribes. Eventually, the situation deteriorated to the point where Rome withdrew from parts of modern-day Romania. The constant raids by Sarmatians and Germans into the region eventually made it too expensive for Rome to remain. Eventually, Emperor Aurelian officially abandoned the region in 275 CE. However, despite Rome's withdrawal from the area, Dacia followed the same trend as the empire did in the 2nd century, in that Christianity was introduced to its people. Christianity grew in Dacia in a manner typical of Roman provinces. Some Christians appeared and then built larger communities until the shift towards Christianity under Constantine made it the dominant faith in the region. Even after the Roman withdrawal from the region, the name Dacia continued to be used for Roman provinces in modern-day Bulgaria, such as Dacia Aureliana, Dacia Ripensis, and Dacia Mediterranea. Meanwhile, the Dacian heartland to the north continued to see Germanic, Hunnic, and later Avar incursions. By the 4th to 5th century CE, the name Dacia was only used regionally, and the local population faded from the historical record. Despite this, the local Dacians and hybrid Dacio-Roman populations likely continued to exist, particularly in the hinterlands. There they intermingled with various waves of newcomers, from Goths to Huns to Avars, and continued living their lives as best they could given the new circumstances. Eventually, the remaining provinces called Dacia would change their name or be conquered by incoming kingdoms like the Avars in the 6th to 7th centuries CE. Thus, the name Dacia faded into nothing but a memory of an age gone by. The Avar and Hunnic raids into the northern Balkans marked a shift in the region's political history. With the end of the two provinces of Dacia Ripensis and Dacia Aureliana, the name of the Dacians appears to fade from history. By that time, centuries of Romanization and Christianization had taken place, and profoundly transformed the region and its people. The rest of late antiquity and the early medieval period would see many states take the region and imbue it with their own cultural influences until the appearance of the peoples of Romania, Moldova, and their surrounding regions. However, the legacy of the Dacians continues to shine in the region to this day. Today, the modern citizens of Hungary, Romania, and Moldova all share the lush forests once curated by the ancient Dacians. From their art to their resistance to Roman imperialism to their large tower settlements, the Dacians left their mark on these lands and remain prominent in the social memory of southeastern Europe to this day. More videos on the mysterious Iron Age cultures of Europe are on the way. To make sure you don't miss them, make sure you are subscribed and have pressed the bell button. Please consider liking, subscribing, commenting and sharing, it helps immensely. Recently, we've started releasing weekly Patreon and YouTube member exclusive content. Consider joining their ranks via the link in the description or button under the video to watch these weekly videos, learn about our schedule, get early access to our videos, access our private Discord, and much more. This is the Kings and Generals channel, and we will catch you on the next one.